Coach Clay here. The interview to follow is with Travis Copley, the Vice President of Marketing and Sales at Old Hickory Bat Company. We talk about the evolution of the wooden bat over the last 2 or 3 decades, the current state of the wood bat industry. He's a former teammate of Todd Helton. We discuss his induction into the Hall of Fame. We talk about college coaches and their recruiting of travel players from some of the wooden bat tournaments, professional scouting, how guys are getting noticed. We talk about the online hitting ecosystem. We talk a little bit about Teacher Man. Had a great conversation. You don't need the video. You can listen to it in the car. And if you react to this video in the comments section and are subscribed to the channel, I'm going to have a drawing for a free customized Old Hickory wood bat, your size and model of your choice. And for those that don't get the wooden bat, I'm giving away some copies of my novel, The Ball Player. So react in the comments section. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and enjoy the following interview. Thanks for watching. I'm here with Travis Copley, an old teammate of mine and friend who works for Old Hickory Bat Company. He's been working for them since 2002. Played at UT, University of Tennessee, Knoxville. That's where I ran into him first. Was a 23rd round draft pick for the Reds in 1998, all the way back then, and played with the Reds for several years. I actually had the pleasure of being your teammate in independent ball. It's sort of like the bottom rung of the professional ladder as we were on our way out to becoming has-beens. But yeah, so now, man, you've been working in baseball on the bat side, and I get tons of questions. People always wanting to know, should their kids train with wooden bats? The last thing I knew about wooden bats is Louisville Slugger was king. It seemed like every minor league team, you were with the Reds, I was with the Padres. We had a supply closet full of Louisville Sluggers, and you'd get issued 3. If you broke one, you got a new one. Old Hickory, I don't even know. When did you guys start?
So we were founded in 1999, and how I got involved with Old Hickory, spring of 2000 through the end of my career, that was the bat that I swung. Just happened to run into the owners the off season of 99, started talking them up a little bit. I was with a different bat company at the time, and wasn't real happy with what I was getting, the customer service, quality of wood, and really just the consistency of the patterns that they were sending me. So I was fortunate enough to meet John and Chad, give them one of my remaining few good bats, and built that relationship with them to where, I could call pretty much anytime, day or night, and order some bats from them. They were good enough to me to send a few extras to pass out to guys along the way and kind of build the company there before I ever started working with them.
99, they started. You joined them in 2002. When I was going out, there was Louisville Slugger. I remember I swung an Adirondack. An agent that I worked with briefly got me a couple of those. I still had to pay for them, maybe discounted. And then I remember Sam bats came in. Are they still around? And I think everybody was using ash for a while, but then maple, did that become the staple? How'd that work?
Yeah, so if you go back to when we were playing, pretty much it was ash only. And the 2 big companies at that point were Louisville Slugger and then Rawlings, which was the Adirondack series bats. Sam, right about 98, 99, came in with the Canadian maple. And then there was a guy for the Giants, Bonds was his last name, that had, that monster year swinging the maple Sam bat that kind of reset our industry. We didn't see it as players. We just knew we wanted Bonds' bat. And so, you take that a couple years further, and maple had really kind of gotten a toehold in the game, and to the point now where we're sitting at 2024. We just made it official about 2 months ago that we weren't going to do ash bats anymore. So ash has almost been phased completely out of the game now. It's been replaced obviously by maple and now birch.
When I was, like I told you, when I was in the minor leagues, the teams provided bats. Do you guys sell to teams, or is it now just pretty much individuals? How's that work?
So the big shift on the bat side for the players at the minor league level has been kind of that the team bat versus the player's personal bat. And when you were coming up, to order your own bats, that was a big expense. And so mainly what you saw were the top round draft guys, the big prospects, guys that had big league time, that had that extra coin that they could buy their own bats. Everybody else, we went to the team equipment room and we picked up an ash bat that, honestly probably been sitting there for 3 or 4 years, and we were just hoping and praying that it didn't turn to sawdust in that first at bat. And so you get to where we are now, a lot of the minor league or a lot of the organizations, their minor league affiliates have programs in place where they're either covering the cost of a certain amount of bats per year, or they're helping defray the costs for the players. You get to the agent side of it, the agents are buying a lot of bats for players. Players themselves are buying their own bats. That has more to do with the memorabilia side of it than anything. And then the teams still do buy some bats just to have them on hand.
Are you part of that outreach program and that marketing program? Do you go out and meet with agents, players? Are you trying to connect with them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the off season for us is spent a lot of relationship building, whether it's with the players, the agents, clubhouse managers.
Do you guys do contracts with players so that they exclusively use your bats?
We have some, and as you may remember from your playing days, the contract stuff's a little weird, especially on the bat side. If you get into a slump, it's never your fault. It's always the bat's fault. So that's usually the first thing that changes. So
Yeah,
we will have a lot of guys that just don't want to be locked into something exclusive. The other side of that is there's still guys out there that once they find a model and a color scheme that they're not changing it no matter what.
are bat companies paying players to use their bats, or is it? I mean,
Yeah, there's different models out there on how that works. Some companies are a little more aggressive than others. We probably have a handful of guys that will pay a little bit of money to, but from the business side of it, there's not a lot of wiggle room there on wood bats, especially a company like us that does wood bats only, to kind of overspend on a player with hopes of that follow through on the marketing side with it.
who had in the last couple of years, who had good years that we may have seen Old Hickory in their hands at some point?
Well, Mike Trout's our guy. He's been our guy since day one. Fortunate enough to meet and get to know Mike when he was about 15 years old, and just develop that relationship with him and honestly his family and his agent. And he's an easy guy to deal with, man. He hadn't changed anything in probably the last 10 years. I shoot him a text in December and be like, hey, hope everything's going well. We keeping everything the same, and it's usually a 1 or 2 word response, and I write up his orders for the year.
You've got two boys. One's a
Correct.
pitcher in junior college, and others a fielder in high school, right?
Correct. Correct.
And I know after you got done playing ball, you coached some travel ball. You did some instruction like I do, private, small group stuff. Travel ball is sort of the route these days. And I know that there's, whether you go to Lake Point in Atlanta, it's all wood bat, right? You get to 15, 16. Are they all doing wood bats now?
Yeah, once you get to that high school age, it actually becomes pretty difficult to find a non-wood bat event. There's a couple of reasons for that. It started off 10, 15 years ago that it was kind of a novelty tournament, and kids really got geared up to play, use the bats that they see on TV. And over the last decade or so, it's just kind of changed to where the scouts and the college recruiters start poking around a little bit earlier. I've been told from buddies of mine that are scouts that it's a lot easier to assess pitching with wood bats
Really?
than it is with aluminum bats, because at the big league level, you've got to be able to command both sides of the plate. And so if you're playing in these elite tournaments with aluminum bats, there's not too many dudes that have the stuff at 14, 15, 16 years old to challenge hitters on the inside part of the plate and be successful with it. And so they use it as kind of a level set with, you throw 94, but can command both sides of the plate with it? And yeah, you can, hit a ball out of the park, but can you command as a hitter both sides of the plate against plus stuff? Everybody knows wood bats are a lot less forgiving than aluminum. So, for the scouting world and the recruiting world, it makes more sense.
Let's say 100 at bats for him. How many Old Hickories is he going to go through? What do you think's typical for a 16-year-old playing, facing guys that are throwing 80?
Yeah, it's not as many as you would think. When you're talking about our company in particular, the level of wood, the quality of wood that we supply those kids is pretty much the same thing we supply our pro guys with. But, at the end of the day, there's two things that'll break a wood bat, a really good pitch or a really bad swing.
So like a good travel player, I mean, the BB core bats top of the line are $500.
Right.
They could probably come to your website and pick up, 3 or 4 bats,
right,
and be set for a summer. I mean,
yeah,
for sure, right?
At the high school age, we have a series of bats that starts at about $85 a bat. With
Okay.
it, and now they will range up to the 200 mark, maybe a little bit more depending how much you want to customize it, what kind of finish you want to put on it. But if you're just looking for a bare bones wood bat, again, we're talking about that 14, 15-year-old range. Yeah, you could do a couple bats, 3 bats for under $200.
Man, that's awesome. News came out yesterday. I wanted to hit you up with this. Todd Helton is going to the Hall of Fame. When we first played against each other, I was at Middle Tennessee State. You were your freshman year, you backed up Todd at first base, right?
Yeah, I played third base, and then when he went into pitch, I would play first.
Yeah, so you guys probably got to know each other pretty well that season.
Yeah.
Man, I heard some crazy stories about him, and this was pre-internet social media, so you don't know if it was myth or legend. I think one of them was that he, was walked like 80 times in Little League, but the 10 at bats he had, he hit 8 of them out or something like that.
Yeah, that may have actually been in high school. I mean, that's just the type of hitter he was. I mean, man, that guy was good. He was a great friend, a great teammate. I couldn't be happier for him. Playing in Colorado, obviously, I think some people held that against him. But at the end of the day, when you really break down his numbers, that guy was a lock Hall of Famer.
So I was a much different hitter at the end of 6 years of pro ball than I was at the end of college, but I still felt like I had a little bit of knowledge in college, and he was one of the greatest to do it in college. What was sort of his hitting philosophy in college when he was putting up those huge numbers in the SEC? You were in the batting cage with him. Were there things he worked on, drills he was in love with? Did he have a cerebral knowledge of the swing, or was he a guy that just went and felt it and did it?
Yeah, he was a big feel guy. One of the things, I tell, especially my younger son now, but even my older son when he was still hitting through high school, the two big takeaways I got from Helton when I was with him was that you can't get too high and too low. And I know every coach says that, but I mean, that guy, whether he didn't go 0 for 3 very often, but whether it was 0 for 3 or he had a bad at bat, it was on to the next at bat. And he was just one of those guys that it's don't let that last pitch affect the next pitch with it. You got to kind of clear it out and go. But the other thing I learned from him was that, like, don't overthink this game. If he ever felt like he was getting into a funk or something was off the swing, Mondays in college are off for most schools. And so we would show up on Monday. We had an old Iron Mike machine out behind the outfield, and he'd go load that thing up with baseballs, turn it on, and he'd take 100 swings as hard as he could. No mechanic work, no feel, no functionality, just absolutely blow it out. And then Tuesday we show back up to play, and he'd be as calm and relaxed and, drop a 3 for 4, 4 for 5 on you.
Man, he had an amazing run at it, and I'm happy to see him get that nod.
Yeah, couldn't be more happy for him.
With people that come to my channel and watch these videos, they all have kids. They're all helping their kids get better. Do you, when you were growing up, did you have a facility where you could go and train? Did you have a pro or a college coach or something that you could get a lesson or get into a hitting clinic or anything like that? Did you have that growing up?
Yeah, so my dad invested in 2 old tennis court nets, and strung them together in my garage. And so I had a place where I could hit off a tee, do some flips, stuff like that. So I was very fortunate that my dad played football and baseball in college, and so he was always around. And so there was a lot of weekends spent at the rec field. We'd load up an old L screen in the back of a '76 Chevy pickup and drive it down the road so he could throw a BP to me.
Did you have a coach, high school, college, that gave you any kind of like fundamental advice that sort of resonated with you and stuck with you?
Yeah, and I think, you can speak to this as well. Like, as you develop and mature as a player, you're going to run across different coaches, different people in your baseball life that have impacts on you. And so when I was, coming through high school, was a guy named Sal Rendy. Sal at the time was the AAA hitting coach for the Marlins and then the Phillies. And so that was a guy that, he would come to the house. I would, kind of do lessons with him, whether it was on the field, but really impactful in not only the mechanical side of hitting, but kind of the thought process to hitting, because that was the first time I'd really been introduced to the professional way of doing it. And he was a guy that, through my career until the very end, I would see him at least once a year just to kind of, tweak my swing or kind of get me right with it. You get into college, and Larry Simcox was our assistant coach at Tennessee. That guy was super impactful, both on and off the field for me.
I know Old Hickory, you guys have a presence on Instagram, I know, because I think I
Mhm.
follow you guys.
You
Do you
better.
guys have somebody that handles that for you guys, like social
Yeah,
media and things?
yeah, it's actually our other sales rep that kind of
Okay.
dabbles in that with it. One thing that's helped us on social media is just the relationship we have with some of our, especially our younger players that are really in
Yeah.
tune with that. And they post a bunch of stuff and tag us in it, or they'll reach out to us wanting to know, if they can post something for us.
I'm sure with the bats and the minor league players you guys are following and things like that, I'm sure you get a lot of the hitting gurus that are out there online. Have you seen some of those guys? Have you,
Oh yeah.
did your boys ever go online? Did you ever pick up anything online that you could try with them, a drill or anything like that? Did you ever give a remote lesson to anybody when you were given instruction? What do you think about using technology in that way, whether it's social media, picking up ideas, or
Right.
even hiring a remote coach where you download their curriculum or you send them videos back and forth? What do you think about that?
So I'll answer the second question first. No, I never did remote lessons just because I'm so old that we didn't have that capability. But yeah, I mean, I sit at the house at night and I still kind of go through the internet and see, kind of what the hot trends are, what drills are out there. Especially with my younger son who's a junior in high school. He'll come home from practice and go, "Hey, this really worked well today. I struggled a little bit here. What do you think?" And I'm still dad at the end of the day. So about 50% of what I say to him bounces off of it. But if I can find something online that do a little research on and I like and I either believe in or start to believe in or think there's some validity there, then I can send that to him or show that to him and it carries a little bit more weight. I think you have to be careful with that because everything can be edited online. And so you're only seeing the good and you're
Mhm.
not seeing the bad with it. I think, if you look at some of the guys that are out there now, man, it's a reach on some of the stuff that's being shown online and that some kids are buying into.
Um, yeah, just recently I came across Teacher Man. You've seen Teacher
Oh
Man?
yeah. Oh yeah.
No playing experience, but
Hmm.
captured the interest of David Matranga, who was a pro. I don't know if you ever ran into him, Midwest League,
Yeah.
whatnot, but now as agent to Aaron Judge, and Judge was having a little moment of crisis after his first year of pro ball, and this guy got him feeling right, and now he's all over my feeds with some of his
Right.
stuff. I feel like 80% of the stuff like matches right up with mine.
Hmm.
How I sort of teach hitting with balance and transfer and hands inside and all that. But his patented paddle where you flip the bat
Yep.
back, I'm not sure I'd ever try to implement that with any young hitter. What are your thoughts when you see some of that? Just another way
So,
to get where we're trying to be, or
well, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be bumps in the road as we're trying to get to where we're going. But I think, with Teacher Man, specifically, you know, Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is going to be able to do a lot of things that normal human beings can't. And so, when you're talking for me with Teacher Man, what he's done is he's kind of taken getting on plane early so far offline that a guy like Judge can make it work or make it make sense. But your average player, even in pro ball, your average hitter is not going to be able to do that. I've met Aaron. He's one of the largest human beings on this planet. Obviously super strong. He can control that bat with strength and precision better than almost anybody on the planet. And so I think as instructors, as we relay some of this information to kids, we have to be very cognizant of the fact that they're not Aaron Judge, they're not Mike Trout, they're not, in our generation, Alex Rodriguez or Barry Bonds. Those are special human beings that God gifted them with talent that others of us have to work extremely hard to get anywhere close to. But I'm like you with Teacher Man specifically. I think there are some good things that he shows. And again, it's what are we seeing online versus what he's actually teaching?
whether it's Teacher Man or the rope bat or the
Right.
swing shoulder harness keeps you
Yep.
tracked in, all that stuff. I think you almost need 2 or 3 year foundation of just balance, rhythm, staying short, getting extension. And once you get that foundation, you can go out and sort of try some of these drills, some of these techniques, and see how it feels, you know. So
Right. Yeah,
but
for me, if
man,
I could go back with my kids and do anything all over again, is I would be less technical with them at an early age
yeah,
and just let them figure out their bodies. Like go up there, figure out what's comfortable, and swing as hard as you can and make consistent contact, and then be done with it. Then, as they
right.
got older into junior high and high school, start refining their mechanics because everybody's going to be a little bit different.
You played ball at a high level, and I failed to mention you're married to a University of Tennessee volleyball alum. Who
Okay.
is she 6 foot or is she
She's
just
6 feet.
under?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside hitter,
So
6 feet tall.
yeah, and your oldest boy, how tall is he?
6'7". I got 6'7" and
Is he
6'4".
really?
So,
Wow.
oh yeah,
And
yeah.
so is he able to use that to throw hard? I mean, how hard is he throwing off the
It's
ball?
it's coming. He's upper 80s with it right now. He's had some injuries the last couple of years, so we're hoping that he's healthy this year and has a good year.
Well, man, I'm excited to follow him, dude. And I so appreciate the time you took today, and hopefully we can keep in touch. And man, I'm sending my guys to you, so hopefully you can equip them with some good bats, and
I
they're ready
appreciate
for
it.
this summer season, man.
I appreciate it. Definitely. It's always good talking to you, brother.
All right, dude, man. We'll talk to you soon.